to Henry's whereabouts.
Anybody got information on Henry? Y'all can get $1,000 right now. $1,000 right now. $1,000 cash right in your hand today if you know where Henry is at. Yes.
At rcmp/khhu -khhu.grc at rcmp-grc.gc.ca.
That nigga's a whole how many .coms this that did he say just now? What? That nigga said a lot of dots. You can go to this website www.this. What's going on, my kings and queens, and welcome back to the video. Today we're at some video called 5 Strangest Mysteries that are very scary to hear. Now, if anybody's new to my channel, I have a bunch of top 5 videos down below on my channel that I've been doing. Them things have been creepy. Been doing some top 5, some Nuke top 5. I don't know if y'all know who that is. Nuke top 5, he be doing like scary videos. Top 5 unknowns, he be doing like strange mystery videos. So not like a ton, but I have some top 5 videos down below in the playlist. Go check those out. But hey, we back with top 5 unknown. You already know that nigga with the number 5. Looking at that nigga be lazy as hell. That nigga need more energy. He need our energy bar. Hey, I ain't got no clear juice for that boy, but he needs some of that. No cap. Wish I did have some clear juice though. That would hit pretty nice right now. No cap, no cap. Top 5 strangest mysteries. So hopefully this is very strange, because some of the times some of the videos don't be strange enough. So hopefully this is strange enough. This is 4 days ago, so hey, it better be up there. But make sure you give a like, hitting the notification bell so you never miss a video. So let's get it. All right, let's go. Pop the goddamn headphones on.
Nice.
Let's go.
Sometimes mysteries are seemingly impossible to solve, either because they happened many decades ago, or because there aren't enough clues to follow so that they could be unraveled. Most of these types of cases are still open, and the investigators involved continue to follow every possible lead in hopes that they can bring these cases to a close. Number 5. On the 2nd of
Number 5, that nigga need a energy bar. Somebody get him one of those, like Fiber One, maybe one of those. Maybe he need what is it called? What is the energy drink called? The energy shot things. 5 hour energy. I almost forgot what it was called because I don't drink those. Who need 5 hour energy? You need those if you working overnight. Yeah, you need those. But if you're not, why you need 5 hour energy unless you got like 5 girls over? If you got like 5 girls, you need like 3 5 hour energies, no cap. So if you take 3 5 hour energies, would it give you 15 hours of energy if you just taking 3 at a time? 15 hours of energy for 5 girls?
August 2006, 32-year-old Robert One, an attorney from Virginia, had been working long shifts in Washington as general counsel at Radio Free Asia, and by the time he ended work for the day, he wasn't sure whether he should drive all the way home, since he didn't want to wake his wife, who was already in bed by this time. He made the decision to rather stay over at a friend.
So you rather not wake up your wife and quote unquote stay at a friend's house?
John Price's house, and he arrived there at about 10:30 p.m. But it would be a decision that cost him his life, and the mystery around his passing still remains unsolved.
So dang, so he rather not wake his wife, instead die. Yo, that decision, yo, I just laid it out flat, just all out flat just now.
Day. Later that same evening at 11:49 p.m., Price's roommate, Viktor Zaborski, dialed 911 to report that someone had broken into the house and ended Robert's life with a sharpened blade. Paramedics were immediately dispatched to the scene. It would soon come to light that Price, Zaborski, and another man, Dylan Ward, were in a polyamorous relationship, and as soon as paramedics arrived at the house, they felt that something about the crime scene didn't seem quite right.
What was that word? What word he just used? But he just said something. See, I don't know what that word was, but I told you he'd rather not. I knew he said quote unquote friend. Like, why would you not want to wake your wife? Say if you coming home, say if you getting off work and you coming home, you rather not wake your wife, but go over to a friend's house, quote unquote friend house. That's kind of weird. That's kind of what?
Right. They discovered that Robert had suffered 3 wounds to his chest, but inexplicably could find no biological material on his body. They also noted that the 3 men living in the house seemed to be acting strangely, and they relayed this information to the police, who arrived a short while later. When questioned by investigators, the 3 men stated that they had heard someone walking down a staircase in the 3-story house, and knowing that Robert was asleep, they decided to investigate. Police could find no sign of forced entry, explained that the intruder had likely jumped over the house's fence before entering through the back door, which was open at the time. It also seemed as though Robert had been targeted specifically, since the killer had to walk past Ward's room to get to his, though they made no effort to gain entry to his room.
Layout.
They added that by the time they got to Robert's room, the intruder had already fled, and they had no idea who the perpetrator could be. Investigators noted that Robert's body had seemingly been washed and dressed in fresh clothes before they arrived, and that the 3 men also looked freshly showered, adding further suspicion to the 3 housemates, who continued to maintain their innocence. None of Robert's belongings were missing, and the room that he was sleeping in was found to be tidy with no signs of a struggle. A sharpened blade was found on a nightstand in Robert's room, but it was quickly ruled out as the murder weapon since it was too big to correlate to Robert's wounds. But when they searched through Ward's room, they noticed that a sharpened blade was missing from his cutlery set, but that blade was never found, and it was impossible to prove that it was used during the attack. A neighbor who was interviewed by police stated that
used that knife and hid it. He hid it somewhere.
They heard a man scream about 20 minutes before the 911 call was made, leading investigators to believe that the 3 men had thoroughly cleaned the crime scene before notifying the authorities. If they were responsible for Robert's demise, they did a good job at hiding any possible evidence, since nothing more could be found to tie them to the crime, and there were no further leads to follow up on. With no other suspects in the case, investigators decided to charge Price, Zaborski, and Ward with obstruction of justice, conspiracy to obstruct justice, and tampering.
That's tough. So they got a conspiracy that you are. Damn, that's crazy. That's crazy. Even though they didn't find anything tying him, they were still in his house. That's crazy.
With physical evidence, since they were certain that one of the men hid the actual weapon before replacing it with the one found in Robert's room. At the conclusion of the trial, the judge stated that there wasn't enough evidence to prove that the 3 men were responsible for the crime, but added that she was certain that at least one of them knew what happened, but decided to keep quiet for reasons unknown. All 3 men were found.
Interrogation methods must not be. You gotta interrogate. Not like you gotta interrogate.
Not guilty and set free, but a settlement was reached between Price, Zaborski, Ward, and Robert's wife, Catherine, after she.
Let's see. It was. Let me see. It was a nigga in the middle. Look how this nigga staring. The dude on the right, I don't know. This dude don't even. Nah. The dude in the middle. Dude in the middle look more aggressive. You know what I'm saying? Nigga on the left look like a business type dude. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I'm right.
Filed a suit in which she claimed that they were responsible for his untimely passing. The matter was eventually settled out of court, with the trio paying an undisclosed amount to Catherine. We may never know the full truth behind Robert's case, and it may just become one of those mysteries that remains unsolved forever. Number 4.
Number 4. This nigga
In November of 2007, 18-year-old Justin Gaines, who originally hailed from Westlake, Ohio, was attending his first year at Gainesville State College in Georgia. He'd specifically chosen this campus since it was close to his home in Snellville, and he was part of a close-knit family who always kept in touch with each other. During communication with his family members, Justin reported that he was doing well with his classes, and on one of the last occasions that he spoke to his mother, he stated that he was looking forward to coming home for the weekend, and that he would be helping his stepdad clean out the house's gutters while he was there. He also shared that he was planning on going out that night to a nightclub called Wild Bill's, as he was familiar with the surroundings, having been there many times before. Later that evening, Justin and his roommate Chris left their apartment, and Chris dropped Justin off at the club.
So that looked like he working at a gas station. That's what it looked like. A gas station. Because you see the cigarettes in the background. You see like the shirt. It looked like a gas station clerk shirt. You got the little name tag. You know what I'm saying? Hey, gas station job.
Club before going home, since he didn't have a pass to get into the club. Justin assured him that he could get a ride home later that evening, and according to CCTV footage from the club, Justin was still in the parking lot at around 1:30 a.m., where he was seen talking on his cell phone. When phone records were checked, it was found that he made 24 calls in the span of 2 hours as he was asking friends for a ride, but most of the calls went unanswered. The last call he made was to his roommate, Chris, who declined to pick him up since it was already in the early hours of the morning. Strangely, Justin never attempted to contact his parents, even though they had assured him that he could call them at any time, day or night. It's also known that he was carrying
People don't want their parents in their business, or like let me see. They don't really want to depend on their mother and father. Like, you know how your some mother and fathers always like they be ready for you to get out of the house and stuff like that, and you know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. So he probably looking at it as he don't want to depend on his parents. You know what I'm saying? So that's why he skipped past them.
Cash with him, but he never made any attempt to call a taxi and opened a missing person case. When investigators interviewed other patrons who were at the nightclub that night, witnesses stated that they saw Justin, who appeared to be sober, standing outside at around 2:30 a.m., and it seemed as though he was waiting for someone to pick him up. A search effort was quickly organized, and 200 people, including police officers and members of the community, combed the surrounding area with helicopters, searching from above, but no trace of Justin was found. 3 months later, investigators would reveal that they suspected foul play in Justin's mysterious disappearance. But when no further clues were found, the investigation was suspended in August of 2008, and hope quickly faded that Justin would be found alive. Having nowhere else to turn, Justin's family got in touch with a private investigator who looked into the case and found that witnesses saw Justin getting into an argument with 2 men, though it isn't known what the fight was about, and there was no evidence to suggest that they had anything to do with his disappearance. But in 2015, investigators discovered a photo dating back to 2007 from a pawn shop in Gwinnett County, in which a man named Dylan Glass can be seen wearing a diamond earring identical to Justin's.
Dang.
Glass had spent some time in prison, and it became ever more likely that he knew something about Justin's disappearance. And so Glass and a friend of his, 57-year-old Martin Wilkie, were arrested and charged with ending Justin's life. They alleged that the 2 men robbed Justin after ending his life and then disposed of his body, a theory that was supported by Glass's mother, Thelma Ballou, Balu claimed that she helped with the disposal, but later recanted her version of events.
Dang. Wait. Who, mother?
And then disposed of his body, a theory that was supported by Glass's mother, Thelma Balu. Balu claimed that she helped with the disposal, but later recanted her version of events, stating that she only said she was present in order to avoid a separate charge of burglary.
Dang.
Investigators believe that someone at the club noticed that Justin was carrying cash, and that he was taken to a house in Snellville, where he was robbed and his life possibly ended, though this is mere speculation. The police also received an anonymous tip from a woman who stated that a man living in the area of Pleasant Hill Road and Club Drive may know something about Justin's case, but she never revealed the man's identity and has not been in contact since. Justin remains missing to this day, and a $25,000 reward has been offered to anyone with information on his current whereabouts or his disappearance. If you have any information, you're asked to contact the Walton County Sheriff's Department at 770-266-1558. Justin's nameless case number is MP5696.
Giving out everybody numbers. This man be bold.
Number 3.
Bold with it.
In March of 1973, 21-year-old Henry Louis Baltimore was an honor student at Michigan State University, and he had the honor of becoming the university's first ever African-American drum major. On the 3rd of March of that year, things took a turn for the worse when he was robbed inside of his apartment, which was located in East Lansing. 2 men had managed to gain entry into the apartment, after which they tied Henry up and proceeded to turn the place inside out, stealing anything they could sell. Strangely, Henry waited a further 10 days before reporting the robbery to the police, who then arrested 22-year-old Roy Davis on suspicion of being involved. Henry managed to identify Davis as one of the 2 men who had entered his apartment that night, and so Davis was charged with armed robbery. But he managed to pay his bond and was set free pending his trial.
Dang.
Davis then traveled to Henry's apartment where he confronted him.
Dang. Imagine you snitching on somebody and then they go to jail, bond out, and then come right back to your place. Dang, boy, you did.
Stating that harm would come to him if he were to testify. One of Henry's roommates, a man named Paul Lott, would later state that all of the items stolen from the apartment had been returned on the condition that he would not testify at Davis's preliminary trial. When Henry decided to stay away from the trial, a warrant of arrest was issued and he was given a fine of $50. It was also made clear to Henry that he had no choice but to testify against Davis, and so a new date was set for the 24th of May, and this time, Henry attended as promised. Shortly after this, Henry started receiving phone calls threatening that if he testified again at the arraignment, he would come to harm, and when the time came for him to do so, he could not be found anywhere. During the investigation into his disappearance, Henry's car, a 1968 Buick, was found abandoned on the university's campus, and inside, investigators found all of his personal possessions. Henry's neighbors were interviewed, and they stayed in pounding at his door. The men had parked their car in the neighbor's spot, and when they were confronted, they asked the neighbors if they knew where Henry was, which they didn't. The neighbors left their apartment a few minutes later, but noticed that the 2 men were still knocking on Henry's door, and they still had not moved their vehicle. When Henry's apartment was checked, investigators found no signs of forced entry, leading them to believe that he was indeed home and that he eventually answered the door. But what happened after that remains unclear, and Henry remains missing. It's theorized that the 2 men managed to get Henry into their car before they left, but no clues were found to lead them in the right direction.
Dang, y'all ain't gonna find that. If somebody, that's like a kidnap. How y'all gonna find that?
Police were sure that it was no coincidence that Henry disappeared a day before he was scheduled to testify against Davis, but they had no way of proving that he was involved or that any harm had come to him. Henry's family informed the police that Davis had threatened Henry and warned him not to testify, and Davis was eventually found guilty of armed robbery, proving that Henry's testimony would have made no difference in the outcome of the trial. Since then, investigators have received no further leads in the case, and a $1,000 reward has been offered to anyone with information as to Henry's whereabouts.
Anybody got information on Henry? Y'all can get $1,000 right now. $1,000 right now. $1,000 cash right in your hand today if you know where Henry is at.
They're certain that someone in the community knows what happened to Henry, but no one has come forward, and some of the witnesses that were interviewed back then have stated that they've forgotten most of the details of the case by now. Henry's family has supplied DNA samples to the Combined DNA Index System in case remains are ever found, so that he can be identified, but at this stage it isn't known whether he's still alive or not. The lead investigator in the case believes that the two men seen at Henry's apartment almost certainly had something to do with his disappearance.
Bro,
but since they've not been identified, they can't be questioned.
Somebody get that.
Henry is described as being between 6'1" and 6'3" tall. He has black hair and brown eyes, and at the time of his disappearance, he weighed around 170 to 180 pounds. The last time he was seen, he was wearing light gray slacks, a black turtleneck sweater, and black and gray shoes. Anyone who knows anything about Henry's case is asked to contact the East Lansing Police Department at 517-351-4220. Alternatively, they can contact the Ingham County Sheriff's Office at 517-676-8251.
Just laying out everybody phone numbers, bro. This man exposing. Number 2.
Thanks to advancements in DNA technology, it's now possible for investigators to revisit cold cases from decades ago in hopes that they can identify victims of crimes. But this isn't always enough to identify the culprits who committed them. One such mystery took place in a rural area of Alberta, Canada, in April of 1977.
That man Drake.
On the 13th of that month, a husband and wife decided to remove their septic tank so that they could salvage some of its parts. But they made a horrific discovery that led to a mystery that remains unsolved today. To their shock and horror, the couple noticed a shoe in the tank, and upon further investigation, found that a body had been dumped inside. They immediately contacted the police to report what they had found.
I forgot what is a septic tank. What is that? I said toilet. I don't know why I said toilet. Maybe the back of the toilet. I don't fucking hot. What's the thing called that holds the hot water? Like some houses be having like them big tanks in the back that generate hot water. I don't know if that's a septic tank. I don't.
The body was removed and it was found to be wrapped in a yellow sheet, which had been tied with a length of nylon rope. Despite the body being in the tank for several months, it was found that the man had been assaulted before his life was ended, and investigators noted that the perpetrator had covered the body in quicklime in hopes that it would deteriorate faster, making identification of the body much harder. Thanks to the clothing that he was wearing when he was found, which included a blue Levi's shirt, jeans, and wallaby-style boots, investigators believed that the man was a migrant worker. They were also able to find a few more clues, including the fact that he was right-handed. He was between 26 and 32 years old, and he had dark brown hair.
How the hell do DNA and oh my gosh, they know exactly everything, even though if that person say if they find a DNA of somebody that they don't even have on record nowhere, they can tell their exact age, what they look like, exactly everything without a camera. Are you serious? Just with DNA?
Furthermore, he had recently been to the dentist, but still had all of his own teeth, and they estimated his weight to be between 145 and 165 pounds. Since DNA technology didn't exist at the time, the man couldn't be identified, and he was given the moniker Septic Tank Sam. The case went cold, no one was arrested, and the man was buried in a cemetery in Edmonton in an unmarked grave, Oklahoma, where a forensic anthropologist created a 3D rendering of the victim with the help of a medical illustrator. This indicated that the man was Aboriginal and that he was 35 years old at the time of his passing. DNA samples were collected at the same time in hopes that the man could finally be identified, since all other efforts had failed, including the questioning of witnesses and following up on every lead that came in. But all efforts were in vain, and for the next 41 years the case went cold. That is until 2018, when the man was identified thanks to forensic genealogy, in which a family tree was constructed using the victim's DNA. It was then discovered that Septic Tank Sam was in fact Gordon Edwin Sanderson,
I can't believe
who
they
grew
gave him
up
that Septic Tank Sam, bro. If you was alive, you should have uppercutted there.
in foster care after being removed from his parents' house in Manitoba when he was 9 years old. Edwin had been struggling with an addiction to illegal substances at the time of his passing, and quite unbelievably, he'd been reported missing by his sister, Joyce Sanderson, after he didn't arrive for a visit in Alberta in 1977. But there was never any success in the case. Now that Gordon had been identified, the hunt was on to identify his attacker, and investigators have urged anyone who has any information on the case to come forward so that justice can be served in this case that's now half a century old. Gordon's family have stated that they're grateful to finally know what happened to him, despite finding out that he'd been murdered many years ago. They had always held out hope that he would be found alive, but felt a sense of relief that his disappearance had been solved. This is not the case for his murder, though, and investigators have stated that they'll still follow every possible lead that could point them in the direction of Gordon's attacker. They strongly suspect that Gordon's passing has something to do with illegal substances that he was using, and that someone from the Edmonton area was responsible for ending his life, since there were a lot of people involved in criminal activities in the area at the time. If you or anyone you know has any information on Gordon's case, you're asked to contact the Tofield Royal Canadian Mounted Police Detachment at 780-662-3353. Alternatively, you can contact your local police department or email the Alberta Royal Canadian Mounted Police Historical Homicide Unit at rcmp/khhu-khhu.grc at rcmp-grc.gc.ca.
That nigga's a whole how many .coms .shits this that did he say just now? What? That nigga said a lot of dots. You can go to this website www.this.
Number 1. Elizabeth Ann Hernandez, a 29-year-old woman from Albuquerque, New Mexico, mysteriously disappeared on the 16th of November, 2017, and has not been seen or heard from since. Her family has stated that it's very out of character for Elizabeth, also known as Lizzie, to stay out of contact with them, since she has 2 children and was 4 months pregnant at the time. She was due to give birth in April of the next year, and at the time she was in a relationship with the child's father, Miguel Martinez, who was a student at the University of New Mexico. Lizzie was working hard to make a bit of extra money, having graduated from beauty school and starting a job at a salon in the area. When her sister Amber needed some free time,
beauty school. Ooh.
Lizzie would babysit her 2 children, as she would be paid for doing that as well. But on the 16th of November, 2017, Lizzie would disappear without a trace. The previous day, she'd been babysitting.
Why you said would? Like she disappears all the time. He said she would disappear. Like he's saying it like she would do that all the time type thing.
And she spent most of the day inside her sister's house. Later that day, she was picked up by Martinez, and the couple went home where they spent the evening together. The next morning, Martinez drove Lizzie to the Department of Human Services, where she was meant to attend an appointment to receive food stamps. Following that, she had planned to return to her sister's house for another stint of babysitting, since her sister had to be at work. She had arranged with Martinez that she would call him when she was done with her appointment at the Department of Human Services, but when she failed to do so, he drove back to the building, which is located at 3280 Bridge Boulevard Southwest, to look for her.
Y'all just heard that. This nigga be every time he say if he say a place, he gonna definitely say your address. If he say your name, he definitely gonna say your phone number.
But she was nowhere to be seen. When Martinez was interviewed, he relayed this to investigators and to his cell phone information, and they found that his version of events held up, though he remains a person of interest in Lizzie's disappearance.
Lizzie.
It's been made clear, though, that he's not considered to be a suspect. Investigators checked the register at the Department of Human Services and found that Lizzie never signed in, meaning that she either left of her own accord or something untoward happened to her before she could enter the building.
Or they probably let her in without signing in. There's always something with signing in to some place. Hotel not checking IDs. It's always something.
When the couple's house was searched, it was found that Lizzie had left her electronics benefits card, and they theorized that she fully intended to return home, since all of her clothing was still inside the house. Investigators then took the next logical step and looked at her social media accounts, but those have been silent since the day she disappeared without a trace. Lizzie's family believe that foul play is a factor in her case, and this theory has been echoed by investigators who are still actively pursuing every lead that comes in. Lizzie's sister has openly stated that
them boards with all them strings all over the place, them things be looking confusing, bro. I don't even see how they be knowing what be going on them things. Like, them things look confusing, boy.
She believes Martinez knows more about her disappearance than he's letting on, since he was the father of their baby, but stated that he didn't want a child. The father of Lizzie's 2 other children has been ruled out as a person of interest, since it's been proven that he was in Georgia at the time of her disappearance. No evidence was ever found that Lizzie was the victim of a crime, and at present her case is still listed as a missing person investigation, though there is a general consensus that something untoward took place that morning, leading to her disappearance. Elizabeth would be 35 years old today, and she's described as having brown hair with green eyes.
Ooh.
She stands around 5'7" tall, and at the time she went missing, weighed between 130 and 150 pounds. At the time of her disappearance, Lizzie was wearing a burgundy shirt with black yoga pants, which had gold buttons. It's believed that she may have been carrying or wearing a dark-colored jacket, but this has not been confirmed yet.
Not yet.
Lizzie can also be recognized by a tattoo on her right leg, which depicts a set of shooting stars.
Ooh, stars.
It should also be noted that her maiden name is Brooks, and that she sometimes uses the spelling L-Y-Z-Z-I, L-Y-Z-Z, or L-I-Z for her name.
Easy.
At present, there have been no further leads in Lizzie's case, and investigators have asked anyone with information on her current whereabouts or with information on her strange disappearance to come forward so that she can finally be tracked down. If you know what happened to Lizzie that morning or have any information that can progress her case, you're asked to get in contact.
This nigga said, if me, nigga, I don't know. Why you asking me?
Contact with the Albuquerque Police Department by calling 505-924-6099.
Like, the way he said, if you, like, it sounded like he was talking to me just now. Like, I don't know.
Lizzie's NamUs case number is MP41750.
MP4?
Thank you guys so much.
She had a whole MP4. Yeah, dang. Let me. That was top 5 unknowns. You already know, but I got this goddamn snack wrapper right here. I don't know why, but 5 Strangest Mysteries. That was very creepy and very scary to hear. I was about to say very creepy and scary, but it still worked both ways. It is what it is. Yeah, that was top 5 unknowns. Make sure you guys go check out the rest of the videos down below on my channel. Top 5 in the playlist with the top 5. I don't know what interpretation y'all wanted to put it in, but that's the best interpretation I put it in. Top 5 videos down below in the playlist. Go check those out. That's more better. No, yes, no, maybe. All right. You gonna like, comment below, and that's the end video.